So in today's video, we thought we would take one of our best-selling smalls, and by small, I mean an item that's very inexpensive to make, a lot of times free because you use scraps or things around your shop that you already have, and you don't have to price it for very much in your booth, and it's a great impulse buy for people as they come by. It's also a great attractant to just get people into the booth to maybe look at more expensive items. So today we're going to take our best-selling small, which is our hem sign. Very simple. We sell them for $10, and we're going to kind of amp it up a little bit, or glamp it up a little bit, or however you want to word it, and make it where we can sell it for a higher dollar amount and make a bigger profit on it with almost no extra expense. And at the end of the video, I'll go over the amount we're selling the new version for and what the profit margin difference is. So let's get going. All right, we're going to get our backer board just cut down to the size we want it. Of course, you could do this any size you would like to. I decided I wanted a little extra room around our hem page so that I could layer some different colors in this project. Alright, so you can already see the size differences here in our original and then our kind of upgraded version. But the first step we're going to do here is figure out our first layer of trim. Again, I want to layer a couple different colors and trim so it makes this look a little more expensive. So we're just going to get our measurements here and get these cut to length. Now again, you don't have to do this, it's just scrap I had laying around, so more ways to kind of fancy the project up a bit. Alright, and then just kind of playing with the idea I had, making sure I'm going to like the way it looks before we start staining, painting, or cutting down this nice magnolia. And here I am with the Jacobean stain. You guys know, if you've watched any of the other videos, probably my favorite stain color. To me, it's a stain that you can make look modern if you want to do a project with that kind of design or style, and it definitely can look rustic and farmhouse, which is really more our style. And I'm staining the outside edges here even though they're going to be covered with that magnolia, because if there is any small gaps or any discrepancies, then the outside edges being stained dark will kind of help hide that. And I decided to go with black for this little bit of trim here. I think it'll pick up the black or the dark streaks in the magnolia well. And now with our Mod Podge. Now you don't have to use Mod Podge, you can use spray adhesive. There's various things. We like to use Mod Podge because we like for these hymnal pages to look a little older than they are. Now some of these do come out of older hymnals, but some of them don't that we get. So we like for it to look a little older, and the Mod Podge, once you get it all down and it dries, it wrinkles the paper just a little bit and gives it a little bit of a hue on the color, and so kind of makes it look a little older than what it is, and we like that look for this particular project. And of course this Mod Podge looks white now, it's going to dry totally clear. The other thing I like working with it is you can move it just a little bit before it starts drying too much. And then of course here we're gonna just put our trim on. Now with that quicker original version, I just put nails right through the front of the trim. On here I want to glue it down, and so it looks a little cleaner for these smaller decorative pieces. And I really want to make sure I line these up correctly because we don't want any differences between the edge of our backer board and the edge of this black trim, because we want that magnolia to sit flush up against all of it. So most of our videos are kind of geared towards things that are mentioned in comments or requests that we have. So if you haven't done so yet, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment on any of the videos. I go back and read all of them, and that's how we kind of direct our channel. Now here we go. I've got the corners clamped down with these little small clamps. Now I only had 2 of these, so you got to get creative sometimes. So we're using the high-tech tape measure weight. Alright, and while all that is drying together, we're going to get our magnolia frame cut down. Now time to finish this thing off with some of this beautiful magnolia wood. Just cutting 45-degree miters. Take your time to make sure they fit well. You don't have big seams or gaps. I always hate getting to the end of a project that you really like and then the very last steps something goes wrong. Of course that happens in woodworking, so it's not unusual. And then I just wanted to hit the magnolia with the sander. Hadn't done any of that yet, and just make sure everything looked nice and smooth. There were a few pencil marks and stuff left over, so I wanted to just get all that off. And then I'm just going to touch off the very corners to make sure we don't have any sharp edges. And then here we go with the chamfered edge around the front side. Now again, you could do anything you wanted. You could just touch this off and hand sand it. You could round over the edges. I happen to like chamfers, especially on square items or boxy shaped items. I think it just goes with it better than a round over, but to each his own, certainly. And our last step, we're going to hit it with some of this Krylon spray lacquer. I really like this stuff. It's a newer product, I think, at my local big box store, and it goes on really smooth. It sprays well. It dries very quickly in 15 minutes. It totally dries. So, and I think it looks really nice on projects like this. All right, guys. Well, let's talk about the difference in these 2 items that are a similar idea, but very different in the profit dollar. So the original one we have here, we sell for $10 at our booth, and we've been doing that for 1.5 years now. And they basically cost nothing to make. I have a lot of scrap cedar. I've talked about that before. And then we use the cheapest plywood on the back you can get. And I mean, maybe 50 cents, $1, if you had to buy that. For us, it's totally free because I've got a ton of that stuff. Our kind of glowed up one, or our amped up version over here. Now, in this example, I used this really beautiful magnolia wood because I have a lot of it as well, a lot of scraps of it. But let's say that you were going to buy the material for this instead of using your scraps. And you're not going to buy magnolia. Typically a craft like this, you're going to buy pine from Home Depot. And so let's say you're doing that. The backer board, instead of using ply, which I already had, you can buy a piece of pine, 1x6x6 length. You can get, in our example here, about 6 backer boards for that amount, for that piece of wood. So that's about $9 at our local Home Depot. Then for all your trim pieces, if you really want to go inexpensive and maximize your dollar, you can get whitewood furring strips. or smaller pine strips, depending on where you're getting your wood from. At my Home Depot, those furring strips are like $1.40 or something like that. And you can make several of these using an 8-foot length of that furring strip. Now, if you want to do it a little nicer, buy you another piece of pine, surface to surface, spend another $9 or $10, and get you another, 3 or 4 out of that piece. All that to say this, for $15 to $18, $20, depending on your pricing and how you buy it, you can make this whole thing when you batch them out for $3 or $4 a piece. Give or take a little bit on your consumables, a little bit of paint, a little bit of stain, however you want to fix it up and decorate it. But $3 or $4, you can make a project like this, and we sell these for $30 in our booth. Now that's with the magnolia. If I did it with pine, I'd probably sell it for $23, $25. But you get the point. Well over double the price for a similar project and a few extra minutes of manufacturing time. Really not a lot. Super simple. Still get this knocked out in an hour, including drying time for your Mod Podge and your stain or your paint or whatever. So this is just an example, guys. You can do this a million different ways, but I wanted to show how you can kind of amp up a basic project that you may have that you sell in your booth. Yours isn't going to be a hem sign. Yours is going to be whatever maybe your low-end seller or your low-dollar seller is, but it's just an example. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I enjoyed making it for you, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.